Now I would like to introduce Birgitte Lund Nielsen. She is an associate professor in Aarhus and research leader at the Institute for Pedagogy and also part of our research team. You have dealt with teaching a lot and have taught me a lot as well about the implementation. And you've taught me about qualitative analysis in regard to complex topics. So I'm very pleased to have you here today, together with Katinka Gøtzsche, who sits next to you. I would like to also introduce you. Katinka is the head of our association, Life Wisdom for Children, and also teaches at the University of Aarhus and works in different projects about relational competency and mindfulness. Together, we have had a very enriching cooperation, and Katinka also co-developed the program Empathy Makes School. So welcome to both of you, and I give the floor to you. Welcome.
Yes, and Helle did already present us, so thank you for the nice presentation. But just shortly, we plan to start by saying I'm Birgitte. I'm the research leader from Teacher Education in VIA in Denmark, and this is my colleague.
Yeah.
Though we're not at the same institution, we like to think about each other like so.
Yeah. So I'm Katinka, and in this project that we will talk about, I have been the practical person and Birgitte the researcher. Yeah.
And the title is there. I think it's better that we stand over here so we do not stand in the way. Supporting student teachers in competences and mindfulness in Danish teacher education program. And it's actually from work we have also done with Helle. And for this language issue raised by many here, I did also learn German in school, and I understand when you speak to me in German, but I feel more free when speaking in English, so we're going to do that in this presentation. So, okay. And I hope this one is on. Yes, it was now. Yes. What we are, first, the context. The context of what we are going to give you examples from is pre-service teacher education, and I need to say that in Denmark it's an integrated program, a 4 years professional bachelor program, and this is how the teachers for primary and lower secondary school is educated. And this is the context, and what we're going to do is that Katinka is in a moment going to give you some background and examples from how we have worked with the student teachers, and this will be several examples, but one of them will be an extracurricular course from 2019 to 20, where we have worked with mindfulness-based stress reduction and also with professional focus on relational competences. And then after that, I'll give a few examples from the research where we have, in particular from this course, where we had both qualitative and quantitative data. And I'm going to present for you examples from a semantic analysis. And what the agenda is here is to look on this from the perspective, not from the teacher, not from the researcher, but actually from what are the student teachers saying, what are the meaning of being involved in this from the perspective of the student teachers. So this is what we're going to do. And you're going to start.
Yeah, I am. So, oh, that was too much. This. The first project that I'll just present to you is our first big cooperation with the University College and the teacher education. And we were very happy that we could get into a cooperation with the teacher education, because that was actually a possibility to come into the educational system and to try to actually change some structure, as Mette was talking about before. So the structure in this project was quite important. So as well as the content, of course, but we structured it in a way where we were teaching student teachers, their educators on the teacher education, and teachers from local schools where the student teachers were having their internships. Because we thought it was important that when the teachers, when they learned new knowledge, they would be met by the same knowledge from their educators and from the teachers that they were going to meet in the schools while doing their internships. So that was the structure of that. What was also quite important here was that this was not voluntary. 2 classes started in 2012, actually 10 years ago. They started and they were on their first day of school presented for this project as you're having a gift. This is a gift to you. You are a participant in this project. I promise you, not all of them thought it was a gift in the beginning. But after a while, they sort of got into the project, and after their first internship, they were really happy about it because they could see they actually learned something that was helpful for them when they got out with the children in the schools. It was voluntary for the teachers and for the educators. Next project that I will talk about, actually we had some projects in between also in a cooperation with University College, an Erasmus project called Hand in Hand, where we worked with social emotional learning and diversity awareness. But the next project that I will just present to you here was an extra curricular course, and that is the newest one and the one Birgitte will talk about in a short while. And the content was sort of the same as in the first big project, but we structured it a little bit different because that was what was possible at the teacher college at that time. So this time it was voluntary and it was extracurricular. So that means the training took place after their normal school day. It was a semester, and we had four courses, in 2 years. So first we had a full day of training where we introduced the students to the project, where they got to know each other, where they became a group, they were getting confidence to each other. And then they got this MBSR course, mindfulness-based stress reduction, and that is a very structured, maybe some of you know this mindfulness program, but for those of you who doesn't know it, it's a very structured mindfulness program that lasts over 8 weeks, when you're training mindfulness exercises every week, and you are training it for yourself in between. So they were having this mindfulness course, and after that we were sort of bridging back to relational competence. So we were both interested in the perspective from the students. How can you use this? Is this actually valuable to you? Can you use it when you are out in the school? Is it something that you can use as being a professional teacher? So we were doing the bridging, and we were teaching them in relational competence for 4 times 4 hours. Yeah. So in both projects, actually in all the projects we have been doing together, we of course have some goals or some aims before starting, and some of you might recognize the last dots here, because that is part of the definition of relational competence that Helle Jensen and Jesper Juhl did also many years ago. I think it was back in 2002 or something, 2 or 3. So to see each child on its own terms, to attune your behavior to the situation, and to maintain leadership and be authentic. And to do that, you actually need some competences. Being a teacher, that is not easy just to read this definition and just act after that definition. So to see each child on its own term, you need empathy. You need to be able to understand the child. You need to know the background. And as Mette said before, you need to know that it's not only the top of the iceberg. It's not only the acting that is on stake. You need to know something about the child. To attune your behavior to the situation. I know, I mean, that I guess that everybody here knows that is not necessarily very easy. You get under pressure and you just act out anyway. That's how I do it. And to this, attune yourself to the behavior. You need to know, where am I? What is the situation in me right now? What is my stress level? How do I feel? How do I think? Where am I? And then I need to regulate myself. Because it might be okay to notice, yeah, I'm very angry and I'm very much under pressure. But if I'm not able to regulate myself, it's very difficult to attune myself to a child who is also, for instance, very angry. So you need to regulate yourself and to be in contact with your inner strength and your core. And the last part, the ability to be aware and present. If you're not present, if you're not aware, it's really hard to notice the child and it's really hard to notice yourself. So these are sort of the aims that we, or the goals that we are aiming at, or how you say this in proper English. So the content, and this is of course very much, it's very overall, but we had some theoretical presentation on the framework for the student teachers on relational competence, on the Pentagon. I thought actually that we would see a model of the Pentagon, but we will have to refer to that presentation on communication, conflict, and on mindfulness. And then we did a lot of inner exercises or mindfulness exercises, as we have been doing now with Peter. We did dialogues to verbalize what we know about ourselves, to make it more into the world, the knowing, and to verbalize it. We did dialogues. We did gear shifts, as we have also been doing with Peter now, to know yourself, to get to know, be familiar with, it is actually possible to shift in gear. It is possible to regulate yourself so that you can regulate, attune to the child, and also learn the child that it can actually regulate itself. Then we did a lot of playing, making a group, being together in a group to feel the joy of being in a group and the joy of playing together. That it's actually not serious to learn, it's actually fun, and it can be really, really nice being together and play together. And the last thing that we were doing, we called 60-40 exercises. And we have been introduced to these exercises by Peter, because that is actually to split your awareness between yourself and the other. To know what is going on here and at the same time be aware of the other person or the whole group. Normally when you are like me standing here, I'm very much out, what is going on? Do I have everybody with me? And I forget about myself. What is actually going on here? So this training in splitting the awareness or feeling or going back and forth, knowing I'm here and you are there at the same time. So that was the content. And now Birgitte.
Yes. And I'm going to, it's a little slowly here. Sorry. I'm going to say something shortly about the research. As I said before, it's both, I think I need to use this. It's both quantitative and qualitative data. There has been in this course, the last course Katinka talked about, there's been randomized controlled trials with a waitlist control group. Then there's been multiple qualitative data, in-depth interviews and written reflections, and where the student teachers has written about their learning outcomes, their challenges and surprises. And all this have been through a reflexive thematic analysis, and there I'm going to present some examples from it. And it's published open access. The first paper there, the link in front here, says a paper about the quantitative data, and then the last link is a link for paper, actually in Danish, but with an English abstract. So you can read more about this because it will be very short what I'm able to say here. First, I won't go into details with all the numbers and all the statistics. I think you can read about that, but the important thing is here that there was actually seen statistically significant effects on the mental health of the student teachers after this program. It was found on the perceived stress, on symptoms of anxiety, and also on well-being. And this was a background that it put ourselves in the question, is what is the background for these results? And this is why we're really interested in meaning from the perspectives of the student teachers. And when I say meaning here, it's like meaning seen as underlying motivation behind thoughts, actions, and the interpretation and the application of knowledge. So we were looking into the meaning seen from the perspective of the student teachers, and this I'm going to talk about shortly. We collected the results under the 5 themes here, which I'm going to talk about. Something about fruitful tensions first, and then also something a little about tensions with a synthesis in both body and brain. And then they talk very much about difference compared to the normal performance-orientation in education. And they talk about a sense of community and learning together. And then they talk about professional competence to use with pupils and colleagues in schools. And this is what I'm going to talk you into shortly with quotes from the student teachers. Before going into the first 2 themes, this part of our research questions was also, you heard they were volunteers, these student teachers. Why did they actually sign up for this? This was the first questions. And actually, it was interesting to see it was very different student teachers. They said it themselves as a kind of surprise. Different people who go into this course. And some of them were familiar with mindfulness, but not all of them, and some of them actually said themselves from the beginning, I was curious, but a kind of negative towards the thinking about mindfulness. So they were quite different. And when they talked about their intentions, those were also different intentions. Here's a quote from one of them, which is, it's both intentions which is about something which is personal and something that's professional. Here, there's to be something for the pupils. Working as a teacher, I need to learn how to take care of myself. It's a quote from one of them talking about why going into this course. So. But then the themes. The first thing here, that it's well known, but also different. It's a kind of both and theme. So when I talk about tensions here, it's tensions in a kind of positive way. That they talk about going in depth, adding to what is already known. As Katinka said, they work with relational competences. It's part of the curriculum. They had all worked with that. And they say, we see this as quite important in education, and it's important to hear more about, to go into depth with the research. So this is something which is quite well known to them. But the interesting issue here is when they talk about that, they say, but also something which is quite different to them, something that's new. So this is the tension between the well-known and something which is quite different. This, that at the same, being challenged in a positive way by new and different approaches. And again, quotes here, being present in the room in quite a new way. And this, I didn't experience something alike before. And those are student teachers who had been there for, some of them for 3 years. So that's quite important, this tensions between the new. And another kind of tension here is this about body and brain. You saw it already started here when they talk about getting to know more about the research background and about relational competences. They talk about getting to know something cognitive, the brain, but then the new thing also, zooming in on how is my body is reacting when I have an unpleasant experience, and this down in the body, feeling yourself. So this, I just use the term fruitful tensions. It's a reference to some of the professional literature about teacher education. Tensions are there. They will be there when we work with student teachers. It cannot be all coherent, but it can be fruitful tensions. And this is what we see here. Some of the new, the body part, this zooming in, it's added to something which is well known. And then the last one here, the last 3 themes I'll take here. And then they talk about this difference compared to the normal performance orientation, which is there for the student teachers, like all students in higher education. They praise the overall approach, not going to an exam. You're sitting here without your computer, thinking ahead, just here and now, working with professional practice. So they are talking very much into this competitive performance culture and the acceleration, which is, for example, emphasized by Hartmut Rosa. And this, what they really emphasize as their outcomes here is that they work with the ability to remain in contact with themselves. Then the theme here about a sense of community, learning together. It's about them as peers in the new group. They got together, they didn't know each other in advance. Some of them might have done, but it was a new group. And this, something special, feeling your team involved and engaged. Give something of yourself and share with new people. And some of them also talked about this. We really, really quickly got to know some quite new people. And then they referred also, it's about among them and how they are together. But they referred also to how the relations grew with the teachers from the course. They are kind of modeling, the teachers are modeling a way of being together, which kind of mirrored in the way the student teachers are together. And then last, they talk about professional competence to use with future pupils and also colleagues in schools. The quotes here, tools to use in class in perplexing situations. Your mindset, this is about your mindset, how you are as a teacher, values, approach to relations, about understanding pupils, the frustration when they want to but cannot do anything. Feel this in your own body. And the team of teachers, this is a quote about how they think this can be used when they go in and work together with the colleague in a team of teachers where we can discuss, if everyone is in about that, we can discuss how we can support the class. We do not know yet about those student teachers as new teachers, as some of them are not there yet. But what we know is that we know from the first example, Katinka mentioned from the Relational Competence Project, there actually the student teachers has been followed out in their first practice. If you saw the movie when arriving, some of them were actually interviewed in that movie too. And there, some of the research following them and a control group into their first practice has shown how they work intentionally with relational, not just coincident when they have to, where there is a coincidence where they have to. So this is what we would expect to see. Also, we hope it can be able to follow up on those teachers here too. I think this was what I was going to say, do you have anything to add? So, thank you very much.
Thank
I hope
you.
you can